So the astrology of the week of 6 September 2021 through 12 September 2021 is all about Venus, the story of Venus this week, as the planet of love and pleasure enjoys a very profitable and enjoyable final time in the home sign of Libra before falling into the sign of Scorpio, where Venus generally does a little bit less favorably or has less favorable experiences. So that's our theme this week. Plus we get a new moon in Virgo to reset the lunation cycle and get us prepared to go into this fall and winter 2021. Let's get into the charts. Let's get into what we are looking at this week. I'm S.J. Anderson, astrologer S.J. Anderson. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to my channel. Welcome here. I make videos about astrology on this channel, and this is my weekly astrology segment, which I do every Sunday. It's released, and I do it every week. In the video, I'm just going to run through 4 things. 1, the aspects between planets, their sign changes, and their stations. 2, I will look at the moon and the sign changes of the moon and the configurations the moon is enjoying or suffering through. 3, I'm going to look in chronological order at some of the charts I'm interested in this week, some of my favorite charts or some of the more interesting moments in our sky, in our astrological energy. And 4, I will pull some tarot and cartomancy cards to add another layer or level of symbolism to this divination, this active divination, which is looking at the movement of the sky, pulling cards and trying to understand something, trying to really deliver meaning to you and to myself. It's the production of meaning is what the task of the astrologer is, making meaning. And meaning is very powerful. It makes the world go around. It's why people do what they do. It's why people take the actions that they take every moment of every day. They're searching for meaning, they're trying to derive meaning, they're exploring meaning that they've already taken on or committed to. Often that's familial and social, but we do things because it means something to us. That's why we take actions. And so the astrological act, the astrological project is a profound and insightful and useful tool set to give us additional meaning as we engage on our journey of life and as we move into the actions that we'll take this week and generally as that we'll take in our life in a more general sense. So and this is the big thing this week is that we and so let's just jump in here. Actually, I think that's enough of an introduction. I want to jump in now to the weekly astrology here in this first segment. Here are the planetary aspects this week. You can see that it's very much about Venus. We start the week here on Monday, 3 in the afternoon where I am. Venus will make a trine to Jupiter. This only happens twice a year. Very favorable energy in the most general expression, because Venus and Jupiter are the benefic planets in the ancient system. They're the 2 planets that add things we think of as good, enjoyable, money, hope, pleasures, happiness. All of these energies are what Venus and Jupiter are involved in. And so when they make the trine, that most favorable aspect, it's quite auspicious. So we start that on Monday, really setting the tone for the week. And we need this now for sure, I have written here, because this Saturn and Aquarius period, the whole period in my last video, I was explaining how Jupiter and Saturn together, their co-presence starting in December 2019, has been so difficult for the world. And there's been amazing things happening. Certainly Jupiter and Saturn combining isn't just catastrophe. It raises people up to eminence, but it can also shake and destroy and invert and really radically alter the reality. And so we need transits like this. This is an example of a pocket of energy this week with this powerful Venus in the first half of the week. These are the exact transits we sort of live for as astrologers, because we look for these pockets where we can have a little bit of just excitement, anticipation for good things to unfold. And this particular week actually is one, because we now have a waxing moon, that I've been keyed into all year as some of the best Venusian energy, the best moment of Venus in Libra is here, and it is this week. Please know that, and please just think about what you're wanting to kick off as we, move into the fall. This is the time to do it. This is the time to initiate. Libra is a cardinal sign. Venus will be in Libra. Initiate, move into things that are enjoyable and pleasurable. Getting ready for this fall moment, Scorpio season. Then we have Capricorn season. I'm talking about the sun's movements here. Those Capricorn and Aquarius season. This pocket, though, with Venus is quite potent, the best energy of a benefic planet in terms of dignity that we will have until Jupiter enters Pisces in December. So this is it. And then this week we have that new moon that comes. It will punctuate the shifting mutable season that we're in. This is the first of two syzygies first the new moon in Virgo, then that full moon in Pisces. This is the, mutable syzygy season, I was going to say, but with the Virgo new moon side of it. But the lunar nodes are square. So this activates that middle period. We've already seen in the last few weeks planets hitting the north bending. That was also a kind of activation and a middle period in terms of timing. The sun conjoined the north bending was that 2 weeks ago. But this is the syzygy. And remember, syzygies are punctuation points. They're points where the aspects around the syzygy moment sort of get called in and sewn in to the powerful moon-sun relationship with the earth. That's why I've always called them and thought of them like strobe lights. If you've ever been at a club dancing all night, that light comes and you can see people and then you can't. These are the moments where we can kind of see the configurations, see how the energy is unfolding. And this is an ancient principle. And Ptolemy says, look to the syzygies to see how the year will be unfolding. So that's how I think about them, stamps of energy that are constantly being changed and that they help us understand what we're doing. Remember, the sun and the moon are the keys to the kingdom. They're the keys to the reality. They eclipse. They're exactly the same size. They're close to us. They're these gigantic circles in the sky that block each other with the earth, with our relationship as the viewer. That's another just important reason why we look at syzygies, because these are the two luminaries, the two central key features of our reality in terms of the coders of this reality. Whoever coded it, they wanted us to have the gold, silver, sun, moon, light, dark, day, night. This is kind of the basic binary of the code. And and if you guys are programmers out there, you have 0 and 1. You can kind of think about sun, moon in a way, in a binary model, as the kind of fundamental building block. I will, and that's a whole other question. I'm very interested in how binary and digitization really can't reflect the kind of really profound complexity of the human form that's not digitized. But let's save that for other videos and other thinkers. Let me come now. I'm getting I'm getting wildly lost here in some thoughts that this is why you probably watch my channel. I get to do this. I get to share some thoughts and just kind of get going. So thanks for listening to that. Let's come back to the astrology. Let's stay on task. We have that mutable season. So the point is that we're halfway between eclipses with the syzygies as the marker. And you can just begin thinking about the next climax with those eclipses are going to be November, December. And so with this Libra energy this week, this beautiful Venus, these beautiful waxing moon elections with this very, very strong Venus, I think we can begin to move into this next phase, this phase of building into those eclipses in November and December. And then at the end of the week here, right on Friday in the evening where I am, Venus will fall into Scorpio. The energy will shift. It's going to get a little bit harsher, a little bit more challenging, maybe a little less pleasurable, a little bit more real. And I'll talk all about that in this video. So that's the basic flow of the week here. All about Venus, and then Venus is kind of dropping into a more difficult energy, and then this new moon happening. So let's move. Let's move to the lunar aspects. What is the moon doing this week? What signs is the moon moving through? Well, it's a young moon. It's a young moon all week. As the new moon, or actually we start the week with this final dark moon on Monday, and then the moon will blend with the sun. I love Dane Rudyard. The sun seeds that moon and then sends it out for the next phase of the lunation cycle. This is why I like to use the term lunation to describe the whole month or a cycle. because it really does define like a process of like a narrative or a story, the structure of a story. That's that lunation cycle, beginning, middle, end. And we're going to enjoy here on Tuesday once the moon hits Libra. So the moon comes into Libra on Monday, very early in the morning, just after the stroke of midnight. The moon hits Virgo. And then the moon on Tuesday is seated by the sun in the perfection of that Virgo new moon. So we start the week with this very Virgo energy, and then it's waxing. Then it hits Libra on Wednesday. Then we have Wednesday the 8th, Thursday the 9th, Friday the 10th of this blessed, joyful moment here for anybody that's looking to do things or start things. A waxing moon, powerful with its ruler, Venus. Venus is very strong in Libra. In its own Egyptian term for some of this moon in Libra transit, Venus will be there, but it's also in its own domicile. So this is powerful. It's trining Jupiter. Very lovely moon here, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we get this Scorpio moon. The moon falls into Scorpio on Friday, just as Venus comes into Scorpio, and they'll be there together on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's kind of a shock weekend where we might be woken up into some of the more martial sides of reality, even emotional separation. I mean, that's what the Scorpionic energy is. It's deep woundedness, deep emotional woundedness, kind of the fixed makeup of our emotional states, and how those can separate us from things. We can get locked into our own viewpoints, and then we kind of break off in our own little worlds. And that's why Scorpio is a fixed sign. It's ruled by Mars, which is a separation, energy of separation. It can be used wonderfully too. But when you have the moon and Venus there, we're not dealing necessarily with pleasurable separation here. It can be very productive, certainly, but it's not the best energy for enjoying a moment, let's say, in a lighthearted way. This Scorpionic energy is deep and fixed and profound. Mars is a serious energy. Saturn is serious energies. When I see clients with strong Mars and Saturn, usually, or often, let's say, there is serious stuff happening in their story. And the lovely thing about serious energy is that it kicks us to those highs in life. When you have to dig deep to fight things or to navigate loss and suffering and pain and separation, we actually gain sort of the capacity for the great compassionate potential of the human being is accessed through these malefic energies. So let's not. I'm not trying to talk down this Scorpio moon with Venus there. It's just a different season for how maybe what would be on our plate and what would be in focus. And then we come here at the end of the week on the morning, we'll get a kind of a cool little Sagittarius moon, a waxing Sag moon. Ketu will be there, but we'll also have Jupiter making that lovely sextile. Now that Jupiter's back in Aquarius, these Sag moons ruled by Jupiter have that cool sextile support in a way. Now, we probably will prefer the square support with the Jupiter and Pisces, but still, Jupiter hasn't abandoned these moons. And so I think once the moon clears Ketu, probably on later Sunday and then into Monday, there's some cool little Sagittarius pockets. Maybe that'll be a transit of the week for me next week. Haven't gotten there yet. So, okay, that's the lunar sign changes and the lunar activations. Now let's move to the chronological charts that I want to look at. We'll go a little bit deeper here. So this is Monday, 3 in the afternoon. This is that trine. Look at the trine, the beautiful blue. I love this software. That deep royal blue represents trines and sextiles. And I have this setting set to when it's applying. When it's applying, it's a bold line. It's a bold line. So I love seeing those bold trines. And this is the sweetest maybe trine you could have. You have Venus earlier in zodiacal order, sweetening Jupiter's life here. Remember, Jupiter's filtering through Saturn. Jupiter has very little support in Aquarius. It's not throttled, but it's kind of on its own there. Not a lot of dignity. But it's with Saturn, the taskmaster, requiring Jupiter to filter through the Saturnine dictate and the kind of structure of the authority that Saturn is implementing and the rules of Saturn. There is a coldness, a discipline, and an edge to it. These are great energies for putting in time and commitment to long-term long-term projects for sure. But it's not a time where Jupiter is centered, where the abundance and the love and the openness and the hope and the party and the money is not centered. It's used in service of Saturn. But when you have a moment like this, where you have the sweet, sweet Venus in Libra in its own Egyptian terms, in its domicile, making this exact trine, it's a moment, I think, where we can say, all right, we've been working hard since Jupiter's ingress into Aquarius. We've reverted back to some of the difficulties of the Aquarian moment we're in. This is a time to maybe stop a little bit, smell the roses a little bit, get that tea, eat that sweet, get that kind of pause here and a little bit of enjoyment, knowing that the rest of the year has some really hardcore activations and then eclipse season. And this is kind of the final boss in a way, I think, for the whole of the Jupiter-Saturn co-present cycle we're in. This fall is that final boss, because they'll both station direct in October and then they finally complete their moment. So this is that last benefic pocket of that sweetness. Eat the chocolate, smell the flowers, enjoy some pleasure and some relationships, and then we're going to kind of buckle down and gear in for this kind of final boss astrology of the last part of 2021. So it's also a climax of the whole air trine we've enjoyed. Once Venus came into Libra and Jupiter was in Aquarius, Mercury's been into Libra, Saturn is in Aquarius. That's a lot of air energy with the three main rulers of air signs, Venus, Mercury, and Saturn. I won't break that down here. I've done that in some previous videos, but those are all the major air sign rulers. So the idea of the beauty of thinking and the thoughts and the communication and the ideas and the breakthroughs, all of that has been highly supported here over the last few weeks. This is sort of a climax moment with it. And so I would look to, again, mental breakthroughs of inspiration, of ideas, things you want to initiate or start. So much of our movement in the world begins in the mind. Libra is the cardinal air sign. So there's something about the beautiful beginning of a inclination or of an idea set that then we, through action, can manifest. So look for some breakthroughs of idea, of concept here on Monday. And look at this too. The other thing about this chart is that you've got 3 planets in Virgo, the Moon, the Sun, and Mars. And those planets are all averse. And so it's again a tale of 2 cities here. We've got this very, the beauty of thought and mind and of connection and of debate. I actually had some friends from America in here the last week or so. I kind of dove into some social life, which is good for me to do with Venus and Libra. I've been enjoying some more social life. There's always a balance. I work a lot. I'm obsessed with my work, and so it's good for me to get out. And I did a lot of mental engagement with some very smart friends of mine, some real intellectuals that were here. So it's been very heady for me and very much about articulation and the pleasures of that. I really enjoyed engaging with the mind and with language. It's very, very pleasurable for me. I'm an old debater way back, so but it's done in a way to connect, where there's love expressed and a real acknowledgement of someone else's ideas, changing my ideas. See, that's the power of Saturn in these exchange here, because you exchange with Mercury. That's the mercurial side of air signs. Venus is the pleasure side and the way we can connect and bring ourselves closer to other people through sharing ideas. But when you share and exchange, it can really take on and break open the way we think about the world. I know I had some openings this week with some of the engagement I was doing, and that's Saturn, because it's kind of changed my viewpoints, and that lingers, that stays, when we can change a viewpoint. So, but there's a tale of these 2 cities. The Virgo placements are all about the particularity of the material world, and maybe with Mars there moving into that and getting some like organizing or cleaning. But the Libra side is the beauty of the thinking and the connection. So maybe you've got 2 things operating here. They're not really communicating. Okay, so let me just move. There is a contra antitia with Virgo and Libra. So that is happening by sign. I'm not really a sign-based antitia person, but there's kind of a hidden way that we can examine our material space, and that might support our mental energy. I just think about it more like air signs and earth signs. They interact when you have a stable place to sit. I mean, I'm sitting in a chair, and I've had some, I had a tea, and that's helped me stabilize so that I can do this. I can come from a place and let my mind go, knowing my body is grounded. That's, I think, some of the theme here too. But remember, this is the final week of enjoyment. Venus enjoying this last little run. This syzygy is also the last syzygy before the, let's see here. No, it's not. So there's a full moon in Pisces. That will be the last syzygy before the Libra ingress. That one takes on some big importance in terms of mundane astrology. This is the second to last. But we'll have this 2 weeks where we're maybe searing in or, with this syzygy locking in some of this Libran energy. I'm looking for this 2 weeks to have a little bit of, even though Venus will come into Scorpio, we've got this syzygy hovering over us, this new moon. They can sort of lock in some of this pleasurable enjoyment as well, not only for this week until Friday, but maybe for that whole next 2 week period. So let's move. That's my analysis of the trine here between Venus and Jupiter. Let's go to the next chart. This happens the next day. Actually, within 12 hours or so, you get the actual new moon in Virgo perfecting. First of 2 syzygies along the mutable axis. I've already mentioned that, and we're halfway between eclipses. And I've seen a lot of clients recently with a lot of mutable activation in their charts, going through it with changes and upheavals. And when you have mutable signs on the angles, and then you've had eclipses there, and we had that heavy Virgo activation. We've had Jupiter in Pisces with the nodes there, the Mars, the Sun, Venus were all in Virgo. This is just another part of that story. Just know, you mutable folks, we're going to move through next week. Mars comes into Libra. The Sun moves into Libra as well. Not next week, but I think in 2 weeks. But we're getting ready to have that mutable activation almost be delayed until later. And even fully into next year, because maybe Sagittarius season and that eclipse will be the next real jolt of mutability. But you're going to get a big break, mutable folks, coming right up. This is that last little ping of activation. So good for you guys to know that. Also, we have Mars here with the new moon. And I just want to mention here, this planning theme I've been talking about since Mars ingressed into Virgo. It's action through Mercury. That's where these energies combine. We act with the Mercury. Mercury is tricksterism, thinking, analysis, data, details, acting. Mercury is a lot of things, fun, youth. And then you bring Mars in. This is the action, the force, the moving and breaking away. A lot of these older texts talk about it's planning to act, and planning is an action. I mean, I find it very fruitful to just sit down and write goals, or write my vision, or sometimes I'll just go to a coffee shop in the morning and write what I have to do that day. Those days usually go really well, but that moment of action through putting pen to paper is a very martial Virgoan model. That energy is very much activated here, planning in the materiality, maybe practical material plans, maybe even taking and initiating some of the steps for those plans. I think here that the other thing I want to mention about this syzygy, it is ruled by Mercury, it is by domicile, ruled by Venus by Egyptian term, and then it's co-present with Mars. All three in this chart of Mercury, Mars, and Venus are in their own Egyptian terms, which is basically as strong as domicile rulership. So you have very, very strong rulers here, and it's with a strong planet. I think this new moon is a great opportunity for settling into, this mutable season. There's a lot of support with this new moon. I actually really love this new moon for a kind of less dynamically activated because by Mars here, but this Mars in Virgo is giving its power over to Mercury, that very strong Mercury in Libra, and that Venus in Libra. And again, I go back to what I just said about the contrantential relationship between Virgo and Libra here. That there's some kind of hidden need between this earth air dynamic. And remember, Venus rules an earth sign, rules an air sign. Mercury rules an earth sign, rules an air sign. So earth and air signs have this special connection with each other. And again, I think it's about the container of the mind is the physical form. And when that container is well taken care of, the mind can flourish. And so it again goes into thinking about our container here, maybe utilizing this Mars and Virgo energy to protect our container, but then simultaneously or concomitant with, we can maybe enjoy some of this Virgo and this Libran flourish with Venus and Libra and that trine to Jupiter. That's the big theme of this week, this earthy, airy combination. I love this new moon. I love having these kind of two worlds, the air signs doing their whole thing. Remember, air energy is kind of off the ground anyway. So when it can separate out, sometimes it's really given the space that it needs. And of course, this is a time of year, transition into fall. It's getting colder where I am. It's already cold here, like colder, and I'm in Southern Europe, and you can feel it coming. You can feel the fall and winter coming. And if you're down under, you can feel that spring and summer coming. This is the transition here to start getting ready, active and planning within those transition moments. This new moon still punctuates that. So keep planning and keep your sense of, just maneuvering and chess moves, like I had said last week. Okay, let's move to the next slide. This is the fixed star Coxa. It's activated again here in this syzygy. Within a degree of the fixed star Coxa, look at that star. It's right in the hind side, right on that hind portion of Leo, the lion constellation. Ptolemy gives this to Venus, and it's unclear whether it's Saturn or Mercury too, but I just leave it straight to Venus here. And I think about how beautiful, if you've ever seen an animal like this, and they're out there in the wild, and they have that beautiful hind side. It's muscular, it's defined. These legs power the movement of a lion. They're the force. And then there's this beautiful expression of the power and that force. It's a real symbol here to just look at those toned muscles in the hind. And that's what I think is happening here symbolically. And if we bring it back into the chart, look, this lion is on the ground. The sun is in Virgo right now. We can associate that with the Leonian energy. At times, Mars is also associated with the lion because it can be the ferocity. And so I think we can bring those powerful energies into the things that are around us and look at them and study them and organize them and make decisions, even data-based, smart decisions about how we want to use that force of our power, and so it's amazing. It's amazing, actually. And I think Venus co-present with Virgo and Venus trine Jupiter and Saturn here. One other way to look at this is just setting everything else aside. You have a Venus Jupiter trine locked into this new moon, very close by degree. There's just goodness here. And how can we use the force of our bodies, the muscles we've been given, the strength that we have to effectuate and push along the goodness in our lives? That's just what I feel here with the regal Leo constellation, the power that it can bring. But here we're in that beautiful hind side, and the energy, the really engine that powers things, and the beauty that can come with that. And I'll say again, I think with Libra and Venus, thinking about your ideas, thinking about your breakthroughs mentally and your insights, and just how appreciate the generator of insight that your brain is and that your heart is. And how beautiful that part and that facility, that human facility that you've been given, just how beautiful that is. Take a moment to stand in awe of the beauty of how humans can generate thought forms that then go out into the world and build castles and build empires, So, okay, let's move here. That's all I'll say about Coxa. Let's move to the next chart. This is a very special chart. This is one that it happens on Friday, 10 September, 3 a.m. where I am in Central Europe, so Thursday night in North America, in midday down under. This chart is extremely special because it's a moment where the moon will be bona fide, separating from Jupiter, applying to Venus and Libra. This is kind of the climax of this whole season, in my view, with a bona fide waxing moon moving between these air trine of Venus and Jupiter. And it's in this lunar mansion 17, all exiled. Good for financial security, friendship, again, that connection with Libra, love and marriage. Venus rules Libra. We're in a Venusian moment here, this very powerful, strong Venus. This is good for marriage and love. This is good for building, promotion. Building is a very Saturnine energy. Cutting hair, this is the website lunarium.co.uk, my favorite lunar mansions website. Its essence is prevented loss and friendship. Warnock here talks about Positive indication for financial questions. He's talking about the protection side and the safety and security. I think that's where that Saturn exalted in Libra comes in. Remember, Saturn is walls. We build walls to protect us. And sometimes having a wall, like in a marriage or in a love relationship, you want to have a container for the lovers and the connection of a love in a relationship. You kind of want to protect that. You start bringing in 5 or 6 other people, that can dissipate the energy between two lovers or between a love connection. So it's nice to sometimes protect the ability for two people to deepen an intimacy in a one-on-one way, using Saturn as to kind of push out maybe others interlopers, you know. And this is a whole topic of relationship theory or relationship, you know, therapy. But, you know, I think it is good sometimes to protect a relationship. I'll say that word again, but just to have rules and boundaries and agreements. Like, I'm not going to text my old boyfriend or my old girlfriend, these kind of agreements, or my own, you know, significant other. These agreements can really deepen the intimacy. So it might be good for that. This might be a time to really enjoy some one-on-one with your close friends or lovers in a way that's a little bit more protected, and you can seal off to go deep here on Thursday night. But we're talking here about it's time. So I'm just going to move on from that. Just know the astrology here. This waxing moon is profoundly activated and protected for some deepening here of love and relationship and security. So enjoy it. Really enjoy it. And I think if you're going to do some electional work, this whole Libra moon transit, particularly after it aspects Mercury, you're setting yourself up for some really good elections. Try to get the moon in the 11th or 10th house where you are, and this might be the time to push through with a project or launch something. So, okay, let me move. This is the last slide we're going to look at. 10th of September, the same day. This happens at the end of the day. The moon bona fide was earlier, very early in the morning on Friday. This is now late in the evening. And you have Venus now here coming into Scorpio after the moon went into Scorpio earlier in the day. And let's just meditate here a little bit on why this kind of moon is rough for Venus, why this sign is rough for Venus. And my philosophy, my astrological building block, this is basic building blocks. These are essential building blocks in my view. If you get these blocks right, you have a whole robust, fully flowered astrology. But the basic principle is this, is that the energies of a planet, those are the, you might say, underlying substrate of the code. And everything else is about mixing the energies of the planets. And that's how you combine words to build sentences and paragraphs. You mix the energies of the 7 basic core energies, get mixed and combined in different ways, just like a painter mixes paints. That's my next big thing after I finish my term essay. I'm launching into a whole color theory, planetary thing that's going to be really potent, I think. But we're mixing energies. And Venus and Mars, when they mix, it is generally considered rough for the planet that is not the dominant planet. So why? Well, what does Venus naturally signify? Pleasure, beauty, sweet singing, mixing of colors and the arts and the relationships and the love and the marriage and the stability that allows for the enjoyment of things, and almost a passive often, or just the kind of settlement that allows for enjoyment. And we want that. We want to have some, like, committed, talking about lover or a relationship, committed commitment from someone that's stable, and then you can enjoy love. What is Mars? Well, Mars is the separation, the breaking out, the moving beyond, the disagreements that can come when we make a decision to leave, right? Martial energy is the maverick force. We need the martial power in life to go explore and to become the people we need to be, to act and to change things. But the nature of action is you change the stasis of the moment that you're acting out from, that you're moving out from vis-a-vis action. So the essential component of Mars is separation. Venus is connection. And when you combine connection and separation, it doesn't make for useful energy often for the one that's wanting connection, and then the other energy saying, no, break away. And that's where this fundamental tension comes with Venus in Scorpio. What do I have here? Yeah, mixing with separation, disputes, breaking apart, pleasure, comfort, and enjoyment. You throw those things together, there's going to be a dissonance and a real conundrum of how to enjoy things. But the other side of it, and this is what I have here, the dance of these energies makes the world go round. This is the kind of, I was going to say koan. That's not really, maybe koan is a good word, but just the kind of paradox or the space between the tension of these separate energies. When we can get the formula right and combine them, it will allow for relationships to go well. I mean, in every relationship, there's a sense of wanting to leave or stay, enjoy a person or do something different. Anytime we enter a relationship, we're sacrificing the freedom and we're coming in and giving some of that up to conform to another person's expectations, not in an unhealthy way, in a healthy way. It's from to, and then you're creating a third entity of the relationship. That third entity has its own rules and its own requirements for the two members to give things into that third entity. That's the eighth house, the shared building blocks in a relationship. The first and seventh are opposite each other, right? Self-other. It's the same principle here in the zodiac and the way that the rulership scheme is aligned in the zodiac. Any Venus-ruled sign opposite is a Mars-ruled sign. So self-other, Venus-Mars. The blending and mixing creates this third entity, but it can often be tense and it can often be a difficult negotiation. So that's my some meditation there on these two energies. Venus enters Scorpio, will be here for under 4 weeks. Venus is the lead dog here because this Scorpio season coming up in late October and in November with Mars square Saturn is the final one of the final 2021 climax of an angular relationship to Mars and Saturn. This time with Mars in the more powerful position. Mars kind of gets some payback here in November against Saturn, because Mars was in Taurus, Saturn had the more powerful position. Mars was in Leo, not very strong. Saturn in Aquarius, more powerful. But now Mars gets great strength in October and November. Venus is leading the way here, maybe sussing out the Scorpio energy in the Scorpio parts of our chart. So look for that. Look for as this sector is pinged by Venus, what's happening? Because I think that those themes will continue to grow. And continue to come into more prominence in October and November. The other things that are happening here is that what is the ruler of Scorpio doing? Well, starting early next week, Mars enters Libra, and that's a big conversation we'll have, I'll save for another video, but you'll have Mars in Libra, Venus in Scorpio. They are doing what's called exchanging signs. They're not in a mutual reception because they don't make an aspect. They are in an exchange of signs. And how I think about that is a doubling up of energies. So we're going to get a double dose of this Mars-Venus challenge difficulty moment. And I think these themes of self and other in relationship are highly activated here, starting this week on Friday when Venus comes into Scorpio. And okay, I'm just going to end it there. That is the chronological delving into the chronological charts that I'm interested in this week. The charts that I'm interested in this week listed chronologically, maybe that's a better way to say it. Let's turn here, let's shift, let's pull the cartomancy for this week. Okay, first I'm going to go with my cartomancy deck, and let's see what we've got here. This will be interesting. This is going to be let me see here. I got my files reorganized. I accidentally had deleted a folder that was necessary for this work. I was cleaning my desktop and I deleted a folder here. But let's see, I've got the card here. This is the, boom, love it. The King of Diamonds. Love King of Diamonds energy. This is associated with Capricorn. I'm gonna roll this into Virgo season because the earth element is highly activated with the syzygy on Tuesday, the new moon in Virgo, and it has been activated with the planets transiting through there. We had Mercury in Virgo, we had Venus in Virgo. We've got a gate opening up here. We had Mercury and Venus in Virgo. We had now the sun and the moon there. So this activation with Earth activation, I love the King cards because they give us this idea of kingly energy, the energy of the power of our materiality. Saturn rules Capricorn, associated with, this card is associated with Capricorn. Saturn has a whole side to it of the imminence that it can bring. I mean, you work hard, you have natural talents, and you work hard to manifest and bring those talents into the world over a period of time. You're going to start stacking imminence. And you might think about that during this planning Virgo moment with Mars there and with the syzygy there and with everything that's been happening there as we're shifting into fall. How are your plans going? How is your organization? How are your, and I'm speaking here specifically of like your material reality, your home, your body, those types of activations are what we can really pay off at a later time. So maybe this week during this syzygy, while the Sun and Mars are still going to be in Virgo for a little bit, do some of this work if you haven't done it already. I mean, what needs to be cleaned? What can be purged? What do you need to take for your body? Maybe a supplement or changing your diet a little bit here. Remember, mutable Mercury ruled Virgo is about change and shift. So I'm going to leave this card here. I mean, maybe the other one thing I'll say about it is this does give us heavy Saturn vibes. Saturn and Aquarius was in Capricorn since December 2017 to December 2021. Saturn was in Capricorn, and we're still working our way through collectively the wake of all of those changes that have been going down with this powerful Saturn, and then with the Saturn-Jupiter co-presence from December 2019 to December 2021. And I just released a video on that. If you haven't seen it yet, Global Crisis Astrology, and I'll link to it here, but that video explains all of it. I just think this also is worth considering all the newness that has been activated since basically 2018, 2019, 2020, and now we're in 2021, the new upheavals and changes in your life, thinking about your life, your body, and your home. You might pull from those as you're doing that planning here during mutable Virgo season. Okay, let's get the sixth card here. Let's get the last card. Okay, this is going to be a knight. Again, I've been having a lot of knights with my pulls from the Tarot or Marseille. This is a deck where I only include knights and then the major arcana. So there's only 4 knights, and I think for the last 4 weeks, maybe the last 2 or like 3 of the last 4 or 4 of the last 5, this has only been about knight energy. And this card is the Knight of Hearts. Wow. So appropriate to have the Knight of Hearts. And where I'm going with this is all about Venus and Virgo. This is all about Venus coming into Scorpio, Venus falling in Scorpio, and how when a planet is in its exile, knights are in exile in a way. This is the basic theme of the Tarot. Is that knights have to move out and go into strange lands where that are unknown. That is what exile is by definition. When a planet is in the sign opposite its domicile, it's in a place where it has to filter through uncomfortable energies. It kicks into everything I was just speaking about with Venus and Mars and that discomfort of that combination. Well, this knight here is seeking and searching and has broken away to use the discomfort of that difficult mix and then kind of dig deeper to kind of the spiritual truths that can be born only from a place of difficulty. That's how the greatest spiritual realization comes from, is the dissatisfaction and the discomfort. Think about the Buddha, Siddhartha. He he was unsatisfied with the pleasures, and then he saw a dead person. And then I forgot the other one. I think it was he knew he would die or something like this. And then he just became a wandering mendicant. And then through the suffering, that was the doorway into the great enlightenment that he was able to experience. You can experience this every day on the meditation cushion. Sit down for 20 minutes. The body will be uncomfortable. But if you stay with it, you have this kind of great heart opening and the great enlightenment. This is a message for this Venus and Scorpio moment. Stay with the discomfort. Stay with the pain. You might want to get deeper into your consciousness and emotions. This can be kind of an energy where we don't want to project it onto others. It's very much an energy of the personal pain that we each get as a gift to lead us into our path forward. So I'm going to leave it there. Enjoy this week. That's the weekly tarot. That is the weekly astrology. This is S.J. Anderson. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to my channel. You can support me by liking and subscribing the video. You can always go to my website, sjanderson144.com, and schedule an astrology reading, a tarot reading, or you can support my Patreon. Helps keep the videos going. Have an awesome day. Talk soon.